The morning started like any other on New Terra Prime. The massive space station floated quietly in the darkness above the blue-green planet below. Inside the station, millions of people went about their daily lives. They worked, ate, laughed, and dreamed just like people had done on Earth for thousands of years. Lucy Martinez pressed her small face against the cold glass of the observation deck. She watched the planet turn slowly beneath her feet. The 8-year-old girl had been up since dawn, but not because she wanted to see the sunrise over the alien world. She had a plan, and today was the day she would make it happen. For 3 months, Lucy had lived in the children's home on level 47 of the station. The place was clean and safe, but it was not home. The other kids were nice enough, but they all had their own problems. Lucy's problem was simple to understand, but hard to fix. She needed a dad. Her mother, Dr. Elena Martinez, worked far away on a dangerous research station. Lucy had not seen her in 8 months. The last video call had been 2 weeks ago, and her mother looked tired and worried. She kept saying she would come back soon, but Lucy was not sure when soon would be. Lucy walked away from the observation deck and took the elevator to level 90. This was where the important people worked. The security guard at the entrance desk looked up from his coffee as the small girl approached. "Hey there, kiddo," the guard said with a friendly smile. You lost?" Lucy shook her head. "I'm here to see Mr. Parker." The guard laughed softly. "Mr. Parker is very busy." "Do you have an appointment?" "No," Lucy said honestly. "But I have something important to ask him." The guard looked confused. Children did not usually visit the executive floor. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lucy Martinez." "My mom is Dr. Elena Martinez. She works for the company." The guard checked his computer screen. He found Elena Martinez's employee record and saw that she had a daughter named Lucy. The file showed that Lucy was currently in temporary care while her mother was on assignment. "Well, Lucy, Mr. Parker is in a very important meeting right now. Maybe you could come back another day with one of your caregivers?" Lucy had expected this. She had watched the security procedures for weeks. She knew the guards changed shifts at 10 in the morning. She also knew that delivery people came and went through the side entrance without much trouble. "Okay, Lucy," said with a small smile. "Thank you anyway." She walked back to the elevator, but she did not press the button to go down. Instead, she waited. At exactly 10 o'clock, the new security guard arrived. During the few minutes when the two guards were talking and sharing information about the day, Lucy slipped past them and walked down the hallway. The executive floor was quiet and impressive. The walls were made of real wood from Earth and expensive. Art hung in frames along the corridor. Lucy's feet made no sound on the thick carpet as she walked toward the large doors at the end of the hall. Benjamin Parker's office was behind those doors. Lucy had researched him carefully in the stations. Library computers. He was 45 years old and had built Stellar Dynamics Corporation from nothing into the largest terraforming company in human space. He had no wife and no children. Most importantly, he had started a charity foundation that helped families. In the outer colonies, Lucy thought he might understand her problem. She knocked softly on the door. "Come in," a deep voice called from inside. Lucy opened the door and stepped into the biggest office she had ever seen. The room had windows that showed the stars and the planet below. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with real paper books and small models of spaceships. Behind a massive desk sat a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. Benjamin Parker looked up from his computer screen and froze. He had been expecting his assistant with the quarterly reports. Instead, he saw a small girl with dark hair and serious brown eyes standing in front of his desk. "How did you get in here?" he asked, but his voice was not angry, just surprise. Lucy walked closer to the desk. She was nervous, but she had practiced what she wanted to say many times. "Mr. Parker, my name is Lucy Martinez. I have a question for you." Ben leaned back in his chair. In 30 years of business, he had never had a child walk into his office. He was curious despite himself. What's your question, Lucy? Lucy took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been planning for weeks. Sir, can I buy a dad? The question hit Ben like a physical blow. He stared at the little girl, not sure he had heard correctly. What did you say? Can I buy a dad? Lucy repeated. I have some. Money saved up, and I did research on your company. You help families, so I thought maybe you could help me find a dad. Ben felt something strange happen in his chest. For years, he had made decisions based on profit margins and market analysis. He had built an empire by thinking logically about every choice. But this small girl asking to buy a father with her saved allowance made him feel things he had forgotten. He could feel, Lucy, why do you need to buy a dad? Where is your family? Lucy's serious expression did not change. My mom works on Research Station Kepler 442b. She studies alien plants that make people sick. It's very dangerous work, so she can't take me with her. I live in the children's home here, but it's not the same as having a real family. What about your father? Ben asked gently. I never had one. Mom says he left when I was a baby. She says we don't need him, but I think we do. Mom works too hard and worries too much. If she had help, maybe she wouldn't be so sad all the time. Ben stood up and walked around his desk. He knelt down so he could look Lucy in the eyes. The little girl did not step back or look away. Lucy, you can't buy a father. Family doesn't work that way. Lucy's shoulders sagged a little, but she did not give up. Then can you help me find one? Your charity helps families. Maybe there's a nice man who wants to be a dad but doesn't have any kids. Ben felt his carefully controlled world shifting. This child had walked past security, researched his company, and asked him the one question he had never considered. In all his years of corporate strategy, he had never faced a problem like this. How much money do you have saved? He asked. Lucy reached into her pocket and pulled out a small plastic card. I have 437 credits. I've been saving for 2 years. Ben looked at the child's savings card and felt something break inside his chest. This brave little girl had saved every credit she could find because she thought love could be purchased like any other commodity. That was when Benjamin Parker made the most important decision of his life. Ben Parker stood in his office for a long time after Lucy left. He had told her to wait in the reception area while he made some calls. The little girl had nodded seriously and walked out of his office like she had just finished a business meeting. He looked out the window at the stars and tried to understand what had just happened to him. In 45 years of life, he had never made a decision based purely on emotion. Every choice had been calculated, measured, and planned. But when Lucy Martinez asked if she could buy a dad, something had changed inside him. Ben pressed a button on his desk communicator. Maria, cancel my meetings for the rest of the day. His assistant's voice came through the speaker, sounding confused. All of them, sir? Even the board meeting about the Centauri project? All of them, Ben said firmly. And find me everything. You can about Dr. Elena Martinez and her daughter Lucy. I want to know their complete situation within the hour. Ben walked to his window and watched the ships coming and going from the station. Somewhere out there, a woman was risking her life to study alien diseases while her 8-year-old daughter lived in a children's home. Somewhere in his reception area, that same daughter was waiting to see if a stranger would help her buy. Father got the door open, and his assistant Maria walked in with a data pad. She was an efficient woman who had worked for Ben for 10 years. Nothing usually surprised her, but today she looked confused. Sir, there's a little girl in the waiting area who says you asked her to stay. She's very polite, but the security team is asking questions. Her name is Lucy Martinez, Ben said. She's here as my guest. Make sure security knows that. Maria raised her eyebrows but made notes on her pad. I have the information you requested about the Martinez family. Dr. Elena Martinez is one of our top xenobiologists. She volunteered for the dangerous assignment on Research Station Kepler 442b 6 months ago. Why did she volunteer for something so dangerous? The alien plague they call Gray Death has infected 12 human colonies. Dr. Martinez is one of only 3 scientists qualified to study it safely. If she can find a cure, she could save millions of lives. Ben felt a heavy weight in his chest. Lucy's mother was not just working. She was trying to save the human race. What about Lucy's care arrangements? The company provides standard support for employees' families during long assignments. Lucy has been placed in the station's best children's facility. She receives excellent care, education, and counseling support. But not a family, Ben said quietly. Maria looked confused. Sir, the facility provides everything a child needs. Ben thought about Lucy's serious brown eyes and her carefully saved credits. No, Maria, it doesn't provide everything. He walked back to his desk and sat down. For 30 years, he had built stellar dynamics by finding solutions to impossible problems, terraforming dead planets, creating atmosphere where none existed, building cities in the void of space. But he had never tried to solve a problem like this. Sir, what exactly are you planning? Maria asked carefully. Ben looked at his assistant. She had been with him through every major decision in the company's history. She deserved an honest answer. I'm going to help that little girl find a father. How? Ben smiled for the first time in months. I'm going to be her father. Maria stared at him like he had announced plans to terraform the sun. Sir, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Send a message to Dr. Martinez. Tell her I want to speak with her as soon as possible. Set up a secure communication channel. To Research Station Kepler 442b. Mr. Parker, this is very sudden. Have you thought about the implications? The media attention. The board of directors? Your personal life will never be private again. Ben had thought about all these things in the 10 minutes since Lucy had asked her question. The answer was simple. Maria, that little girl walked past our security, researched our company's charitable work, and asked me the most honest question anyone has ever asked me. She made me realize that I've spent 30 years building a company, but I've never built a life. Maria made more notes on her pad, but Ben could see she was still worried. What about practical matters? You don't know anything about raising children. You work 16 hours a day. Your apartment isn't suitable for a child. Then I'll learn. About raising children. I'll work fewer hours. I'll get a bigger apartment. Ben stood up again and walked to the door. I'll figure it out as I go, just like I figured out how to build this company. Ben opened the door and walked into the reception area. Lucy was sitting in one of the large chairs, her feet not quite touching the floor. She was reading a magazine about space exploration and looked completely comfortable. Lucy, Ben said softly. She looked up with those serious brown eyes. Did you make your calls? I did. I have a question for you. What if you didn't have to buy a dad? What if someone just wanted to be your dad because he cared about you? Lucy closed the magazine and thought about this carefully. Would this person take good care of me? Would he make sure I was safe and happy? Would he help my mom not worry so much? Yes to all of those things. Would he want me to call him Dad? Or would that be too weird? Ben felt his heart do something strange in his chest. I think he would like that very much, Lucy nodded seriously. Then I think that will be better than buying one. When you buy something, sometimes it breaks. But when someone wants to be your dad because they care about you, that's more real. Lucy, would you like me to be your dad? The little girl looked at him for a long moment. Ben realized he was holding his breath. Yes, Lucy said simply. I would like that very much. 3 hours later, Ben's decision was all over the galactic news networks. The most private CEO in human space had suddenly become the guardian of an 8-year-old girl. Stock prices for Stellar Dynamics jumped up and down as investors tried to understand what this meant for the company. On the planet below, alien observers recorded the strange behavior and sent reports to their governments. The humans were becoming even more unpredictable than usual, but in Ben Parker's office, none of that mattered. He was teaching Lucy how to use the intercom system while they waited for her mother's call from Research Station, Kepler 442b. Remember, Ben said, when someone answers, you say your name first. Lucy pressed a button. This is Lucy Martinez Parker, she said proudly. Ben smiled. He was already getting used to the sound of that name. The video call with Dr. Elena Martinez lasted 2 hours. Ben had expected anger, confusion, maybe even legal threats. Instead, Lucy's mother had cried for 10 minutes before she could speak. Thank you, Elena had whispered through the static field. Connection from Research Station Kepler 442b. I was so afraid she would think I abandoned her. Now, 3 days later, Ben was learning that being a father was much harder than running a corporation. Lucy had moved into the guest room of his apartment, and everything in his ordered life had changed. Dad, Lucy said over breakfast, using the word like she had been saying it her whole life. Why do some of the human colonies not have good schools? Ben nearly choked on his coffee. What do you mean? Lucy showed him her tablet computer. She had been reading reports about the outer colonies while Ben got ready for work. Look at this place called New Haven Colony. They have 300 children, but only one teacher. And this colony called Farpoint doesn't have any doctors. At all. Ben looked at the reports Lucy had found. She was right. Many of the newer human settlements were struggling with basic services, while the core worlds grew richer. Well, Lucy, building new colonies is expensive. It takes time to set up. Everything people need. But Dad, your company makes billions of credits every year. Couldn't we help them? Ben stared at his 8-year-old daughter. In 3 days, she had asked him more difficult questions than his board of directors had asked in 3 years. It's complicated, Lucy. We have to think about profits and shareholders and business partnerships. Lucy frowned. What's more important? Money, or making sure kids have schools? Ben did not have a good answer for that question at his office that morning. Ben found himself looking at Stellar Dynamics operations differently. Lucy's questions echoed in his mind as he reviewed quarterly reports. The company was making record profits, but most of that money came from developing wealthy core worlds. The struggling outer colonies paid much less and required more investment. His assistant Maria brought him a stack of messages. Sir, we're getting a lot of attention from the alien trade partners. The Zephyrian Economic Council wants to schedule an urgent meeting. Ben frowned. The Zephyrians were the most powerful alien species humanity dealt with. They controlled trade routes and provided advanced technology in exchange for human raw materials. What do they want? They're concerned about your recent personal decisions. They think it might affect your business judgment. Ben felt a flash of anger. My personal life is none of their business. Sir, they represent 60% of our off-world contracts. If they pull their support, it could hurt the company badly. Before Ben could respond, his communicator chimed. Lucy's voice came through the speaker. Dad, I'm at the station school today. Can I ask you something? Ben smiled despite his frustration. What is it, sweetheart? My teacher, Mrs. Adams, says her brother lives on Farpoint Colony. Remember, the one without doctors? His little girl is sick, but they can't help her there. Could our company send a doctor? Ben looked at Maria, who was shaking her head and pointing at budget reports. The cost of sending medical support to Farpoint would be enormous, and there was no profit in it. Lucy, let me think about that, okay? Okay, Dad. I love you. I love you too. After Lucy disconnected, Ben sat quietly in his office. 3 days ago, he would have dismissed the Farpoint situation as a business problem with no good solution. But now he kept thinking about a sick little girl who needed help. His door opened, and 3 tall figures walked in. Ben recognized them immediately. They were Zephyrian trade representatives with their blue-gray skin and large black eyes. They moved with the careful precision that made humans nervous. Mr. Parker, the lead Zephyrian said in perfect English, we need to discuss your recent behavior. Ben stood up slowly. He had dealt with Zephyrians for 15 years, but he had never had them visit his office unannounced. Ambassador Keknine, this is unexpected. Please, sit down. The three aliens remained. Standing, we prefer to conduct this conversation efficiently. Our analysis indicates you have made an irrational decision that may compromise your business effectiveness. You mean Lucy, the human child, yes. Our economists cannot understand why you would accept responsibility for offspring that provides no genetic or financial benefit. This behavior suggests emotional instability. Ben felt his anger rising, but he kept his voice calm. My personal decisions are not subject to your analysis. Mr. Parker, your company depends on Zephyrian partnerships. We have invested heavily in your success because humans have proven reliable business partners. But reliability requires logical decision-making. The second Zephyrian stepped forward. Our projections show that emotional attachment to individual humans will reduce your efficiency. You will begin making choices based on sentiment rather than profit optimization. And that bothers you? It makes you unpredictable. Unpredictable partners are dangerous partners. Ben walked to his window and looked down at the station below. Somewhere in the schools and homes and shops, Lucy was living her life, asking difficult questions and making him think about things he had never considered. Ambassador, let me ask you something. How many Zephyrian children die each year from preventable diseases? The aliens look confused. Our medical systems prevent such inefficiency. How many Zephyrian colonies lack basic services? Resource allocation is optimized across all Zephyrian territories. Ben turned back to face them. Then maybe the problem isn't that humans are too emotional. Maybe the problem is that you've never learned what we can accomplish when we care about each other. The lead Zephyrian's expression did not change, but Ben saw something flicker in his large black eyes. Mr. Parker, we strongly advise you to reconsider this attachment. Place the child in professional care and return to logical business practices. No. The word came out harder than Ben had intended. The three aliens stepped back slightly. If you continue this course, we may need to reevaluate our partnership agreements. Ben smiled, and it was not a friendly smile. Ambassador, let me tell you what I've learned in the past 3 days. I built this company by following your economic models and your trade agreements. I made decisions based on pure logic and profit margins. And you know what? I was miserable. He walked closer to the aliens. But a little girl asked me to be her father, and suddenly I see possibilities I never noticed before. Maybe it's time for humanity to stop following your models and start following our own instincts. The Zephyrians exchanged glances. This is most concerning, Mr. Parker. We will need to report this conversation to our superiors. You do that, and tell them something else. Tell them that humans are about to become much more unpredictable. After the aliens left, Ben sat at his desk and made a decision that would have seemed impossible a week ago. He opened the secure channel. To Dr. Elena Martinez. Elena, it's Ben. I have a question about your research. You said the Gray Death Plague is affecting human colonies. Is there any chance it's not a natural disease? There was a long pause before Elena answered. Ben, I've been wondering the same thing. The genetic markers are too specific. It's almost like it was designed to target human DNA. Ben felt cold. Designed by whom? I don't know yet. But Ben, if I'm right, this isn't just a medical crisis. It's an attack on our species. Ben thought about Lucy's questions about the struggling colonies, about the Zephyrian warnings about human unpredictability, about all the trade agreements that seem to benefit aliens more than humans. Elena, I'm going to do something that might seem crazy. I'm going to start helping those struggling colonies, regardless of profit. Ben, that could bankrupt the company. Maybe. Or maybe it's time we stop letting fear of bankruptcy prevent us from doing what's right. That evening, Ben came home to find Lucy doing homework at the kitchen table. She looked up with a bright smile. Dad, did you think about FAR? Point Colony? Ben sat down next to her. I did, and I think you're right. Some things are more important than money. Lucy hugged him tightly. I'm proud of you, Dad. As Ben held his daughter, he realized that the most important business decision of his life had been made by an 8-year-old girl who believed that. Caring about people was more important than making profits. The aliens were right about one thing. He was becoming unpredictable Dot, and that might be exactly what humanity needed. 2 weeks after Ben's confrontation with the Zephyrian ambassadors, everything began to change. It started small, like ripples spreading across still water, but soon the effects reached every corner of human space. Lucy was eating breakfast when the first news report appeared on the kitchen screen. A reporter was standing outside the headquarters of Morrison Industries, another major terraforming company. This morning, CEO Rachel Morrison announced that her company will begin providing free medical supplies to struggling outer colonies, the reporter said. When asked about this sudden change in policy, Morrison said she was inspired by recent events involving Stellar Dynamics CEO Benjamin Parker and his adopted daughter. Lucy looked up from her cereal. Dad, other people are copying what we're doing? Ben smiled as he poured coffee. It looks that way, sweetheart. Is that good? I think it's very good. But not everyone agreed. Ben's communicator buzzed with angry messages from investors and board members. The stock price for Stellar Dynamics had dropped 15% in 2 days. Other companies following Ben's example were seeing similar problems dotted his office. Ben found Maria waiting with a stack of urgent reports. Sir, we have a problem. The Zephyrian Economic Council has canceled 3 major contracts. They're also pressuring other alien trade partners to do the same. Ben read through the cancellation notices. The lost contracts will cost Stellar Dynamics millions of credits. What's their official reason? They cite concerns about human reliability and strategic decision-making. But, sir, this is clearly retaliation for your refusal to follow their advice. Ben's door chimed, and his legal advisor, David Kim, walked in looking worried. Ben, we need to talk. I've been analyzing the pattern of alien trade relationships, and I think we've stumbled into something much bigger than a business dispute. David spread several charts across Ben's desk. Look at these trade agreements from the past 10 years. The aliens have been systematically steering human development in specific directions. Ben studied the charts. What do you mean? They've been encouraging us to focus on the wealthy core worlds while neglecting the outer colonies. Every time a human company tried to invest in frontier development, alien partners would offer better deals for core world projects instead. Maria leaned over the charts. That would explain why the outer colonies are so underdeveloped. We've been unconsciously following alien economic guidance. And now that we're breaking that pattern, David continued, they're trying to force us back into line with economic pressure. Ben felt a chill run through him. David, could this be connected to the plague that Elena is studying? What plague? Ben, quickly explain about the Gray Death and Elena's suspicions that it might be artificially created. David's face grew pale as he listened. Ben, if the aliens have been weakening our outer colonies economically and then targeting them with biological weapons, this isn't just trade manipulation. This is preparation for conquest. Before Ben could respond, his communicator buzzed with an urgent message from Research Station Kepler 442b. Elena's voice came through, strained and excited. Ben, I need to talk to you immediately. I've made a breakthrough with the Gray Death analysis. Ben opened a secure video channel. Elena appeared on his screen, looking exhausted but determined. Behind her, Ben could see the sterile walls of the research station's laboratory. Elena, what did you find? The Gray Death isn't just designed to target human DNA. It's specifically engineered to be most effective in environments with limited medical resources. Ben, this plague is designed to attack exactly the kind of struggling colonies that the aliens have been encouraging us to neglect. David leaned toward the screen. Dr. Martinez, this is David Kim, Ben's legal advisor. Are you saying the plague targets poor colonies on purpose? That's exactly what I'm saying. The genetic markers are too precise to be natural. Someone created this weapon specifically to exploit human settlement patterns. Ben felt anger building. In his chest, Elena, do you have proof? I have genetic analysis, but I need more samples to be certain. Ben, I need you to send medical teams to affected colonies to collect data, but it has to be done secretly. If the aliens realize what we've discovered, they might try to stop the research, or they might accelerate whatever they're planning. David added grimly. Ben made his decision quickly. Elena, you'll have your medical teams within 48 hours. David, I want you to quietly contact every human CEO who's been following our example. We need to coordinate our response. After Elena disconnected, Ben sat quietly for a moment. 3 weeks ago, his biggest concern had been quarterly profit reports. Now he was potentially uncovering an alien conspiracy against humanity. His thoughts were interrupted by a knock on his door. Lucy walked in, escorted by Ben's secretary. Dad, I'm sorry to bother you at work, but something weird happened at school. Ben's protective instincts kicked in immediately. What kind of weird? 2 Zephyrian visitors came to our class today. They said they wanted to learn about human education, but they kept asking strange questions. What kind of questions? Lucy sat down in the chair across from Ben's desk. They wanted to know how many kids in my class had parents working in the outer colonies. And they asked about families who had relatives on colonies affected by the Gray Death Plague. David and Maria exchanged worried glances. Ben kept his voice calm, but inside he was alarmed. Lucy, did you tell them anything? I told them about Mom's research. I said she was working to cure the plague and save lots of people. They seemed very interested in that. Ben's blood ran cold. If the aliens knew that Elena was close to discovering the truth about the Gray Death, they might try to stop her research permanently. Dad, did I do something wrong? You look worried. Ben forced himself to smile. No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong. But from now on, if any aliens ask you questions about our family, I want you to tell them to talk to me instead, okay? Okay, Dad. Are we in some kind of trouble? Ben looked at his 8-year-old daughter, who had started this entire chain of events by asking if she could buy a father. Her simple question had led to discoveries that could change the fate of humanity. Lucy, do you remember when you asked me to be your dad? Of course. That question changed everything. It made me realize that caring about people is more important than making money. And now, because of that, we've discovered that some very bad people have been hurting human families. Lucy's eyes grew serious. What are we going to do about it? We're going to stop them. How? Ben smiled, and this time it was genuine. The same way you found a dad. We're going to be brave, ask the right questions, and not give up until we get the help we need. That evening, Ben received calls from 12 different human CEOs. Word was spreading quietly through human leadership that something big was happening. Companies across human space were beginning to coordinate their efforts, sharing resources and information in ways they had never done before. The Zephyrians had spent years encouraging human competition and division. They had never planned for the possibility that humans might start working together, because one little girl had taught them that caring about each other was more important than profit. As Ben tucked Lucy into bed that night, she asked him one more question. Dad, when Mom comes home, will we be a real family? We're already a real family, Lucy. And yes, when Mom comes home, we'll be together. And we'll keep helping people who need help, always. Lucy smiled and closed her eyes. Ben watched her sleep and realized that somewhere in the galaxy, alien leaders were probably having emergency meetings about the unpredictable behavior of humans. They had no idea how unpredictable humans could be when they were protecting their families. The war for humanity's future had begun, started by a little girl who just wanted a dad. The emergency meeting took place in Ben's office at midnight. 15 human CEOs had gathered from across the galaxy, their faces appearing on screens around the room. Lucy was asleep in Ben's apartment upstairs, unaware that her bedtime story about brave space explorers was about to become reality. "The situation is worse than we thought," announced Margaret Chun, CEO of Horizon Mining Corporation. "The Zephyrians have cut off 70% of our deep space trade routes. They're choking our economy." Robert Hayes from Colonial Transport added, "It's not just trade. They're pressuring the Altarian Federation and the Centauri Alliance to stop all cooperation with human companies. We're being isolated." Ben looked at the worried faces on his screens. 3 weeks ago, these people had been his competitors. Now they were humanity's last hope. "Friends, we need to understand what we're really facing here," Ben said. "This isn't just about business anymore." Elena's research proves the Gray Death Plague was created specifically to target our weakest colonies. The aliens have been planning this for years. David Kim stepped forward with new data. "We've analyzed alien trade patterns going back 20 years. Every agreement was designed to make humanity dependent on their technology and resources. They've been slowly making us weaker." Susan Miller from New Earth Industries spoke up from her screen. "So what's the plan, Ben? Do we surrender and hope they're merciful? Or do we fight an enemy that has technology we can't match?" Before Ben could answer, his communicator chimed urgently. Elena's face appeared on the main screen, and she looked terrified. "Ben, they know. The Zephyrians know I discovered the truth about the plague." "Elena, what happened?" "3 Zephyrian warships just appeared near our research station. They're demanding that I turn over all my research data immediately. They claim it's for galactic security purposes." Ben felt his blood turn to ice. You safe?" "For now." The station commander is refusing their demands, but Ben, they have weapons that could destroy this entire facility. "There are 43 researchers here, including myself." Margaret Chung leaned forward. "Dr. Martinez, how close are you to developing a cure?" "I'm maybe 48 hours away from a breakthrough. But if they take my research now, millions of people will die from this plague." Ben stood up, his mind racing. Everything had led to this moment. Lucy's simple question about buying a dad had uncovered a conspiracy that threatened the survival of the human race. "Elena, can you transmit your research data to multiple locations?" "Yes, but it would take at least 2 hours to upload everything safely." "Then we need to buy you 2 hours." Robert Hayes looked confused. "Ben, how do we fight Zephyrian warships? Our corporate security forces have mining equipment and cargo haulers, not military vessels." Ben smiled, and it was the same smile he had given the Zephyrian ambassadors weeks ago. "Robert, you're thinking like the old Ben Parker, the one who followed alien economic models and made logical decisions based on profit margins." He turned to face all the screens. "But I learned something from my daughter. Sometimes the most important things can't be calculated or planned. Sometimes you just have to care about people and do what's right." "What are you suggesting?" Susan asked. "I'm suggesting we stop playing by their rules." "Elena, how many human ships are in your sector right now?" Elena checked her station scanners. 12 cargo vessels, 4 mining ships, and 2 passenger transports. "And how many Zephyrian warships?" 3. Ben turned to his fellow CEOs. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have them outnumbered. Time to show the galaxy what humans do when someone threatens our family." Margaret Chun shook her head. "Ben, cargo ships can't fight warships. They don't have to fight. They just have to do what humans do best. They have to be unpredictable." Ben opened communication channels to every human vessel in Elena's sector. Within minutes, he was speaking to captains from 6 different companies. "This is Benjamin Parker of Stellar Dynamics. I'm asking every human ship in the Kepler 442 system to help us protect a research station that's trying to save human lives." Captain Williams of the freight hauler New Boston spoke first. "Mr. Parker, we're not military vessels." "What exactly are you asking us to do?" "I'm asking you to do something the aliens will never expect. I'm asking you to care more about each other than about following regulations or protecting profits. Elena's voice crackled through the communication system. Ben, the Zephyrian commander is demanding an answer. He says if I don't surrender the research in 1 hour, they'll begin attacking the station. Ben's jaw tightened. Elena, start uploading your data. Captains, I need you to position your ships between the Zephyrian warships and the research station. Captain Rodriguez from the mining vessel Iron Mountain sounded worried. Sir, that's basically asking us to be human shields. Yes, it is. And I know it's not fair to ask that of you. There was silence for several seconds. Then Captain Williams spoke again. Mr. Parker, my daughter lives on Farpoint Colony. The colony your company just sent medical supplies to. If this plague research can save her and kids like her, then count me in. One by one, the other captains agreed. Ben watched on Elena's scanner as human ships moved into protective positions around the research station. Mining vessels, cargo haulers, and passenger transports formed a wall between the alien warships. And the scientists. The Zephyrian commander's voice came over the communication channel, cold and precise. Human vessels, you are interfering with a lawful security operation. Move aside or face the consequences. Captain Williams responded for all of them. Negative. Alien command. These are human people doing human work to save human lives. If you want to get to them, you'll have to go through us. Your vessels are no match for our weapons. Maybe not, Captain Williams said calmly. But we're not going anywhere. Ben watched the standoff develop and felt something he had never experienced before. Pride in his species. These captains were risking everything for people they had never met, based on nothing more than the hope that it was the right thing to do. Elena's voice came through the speakers. Ben, the data upload is 50% complete. I need 30 more minutes. The Zephyrian commander tried a different approach. Mr. Parker, this is illogical behavior. These research findings belong to the galactic community, not to humanity alone. Ben responded with Lucy's words echoing in his mind. Commander, what's more important? Following your rules or saving children's lives? Emotional reasoning is inefficient. Maybe, Ben said, but it's what makes us human. At his apartment upstairs, Lucy stirred in her sleep. She was dreaming about her mom coming home and about all the sick children. Who would get better because brave people were willing to help each other? She had no idea that her simple question about buying a dad had taught humanity its most important lesson, that sometimes caring about others is worth any risk. The countdown continued. 20 minutes until Elena's research will be safely transmitted to human colonies across the galaxy. 20 minutes until humanity would have the cure for the Gray Death Plague. 20 minutes to prove that human unpredictability was stronger than alien logic. The final 10 minutes felt like hours. Ben watched the scanner displays as Elena's research data slowly uploaded to human colonies across the galaxy. Around the research station, 12 human ships held their positions between the Zephyrian warships. And the scientists who were trying to save their species, Lucy appeared in the doorway of Ben's office, rubbing her eyes sleepily. Dad, I heard voices. Is everything okay? Ben's heart clenched. His 8-year-old daughter had started this entire chain of events, and now she might witness its conclusion. Come here, sweetheart, Ben said gently. Lucy climbed into his lap and looked at the screen showing ships in space. Are those the bad aliens who made people sick? Lucy asked. Yes, they are. And those are the good people trying to stop them? Those are very brave people doing what's right, even though it's dangerous. Lucy nodded seriously. Like when I walked into your office, even though I was scared? Ben hugged her tighter. Exactly like that. Elena's voice crackled through the speakers. Data upload at 90%. 5 more minutes. The Zephyrian commander's patience finally ran out. Human vessels, this is your final warning. Move aside immediately, or we will open fire. Captain Williams responded calmly. We understand. Your position, Commander, but we're staying right where we are. You cannot protect the research station with cargo ships. Maybe not, Captain Williams said. But we can make you explain to your superiors why you had to kill innocent humans to steal medical research. Ben smiled at the captain's words. The humans weren't trying to win a military battle. They were fighting a battle of principles, and in that kind of fight, the aliens were at a disadvantage. Dad, Lucy whispered, are the brave people going to be okay? Before Ben could answer, something unexpected happened. Elena's voice came through the speakers, excited and breathless. Ben, you need to see this. The research station's long-range scanners are picking up new contacts. More Zephyrian ships? Ben asked with growing concern. No, they're human ships, lots of them. Ben looked at the tactical display as dozens of new contacts appeared on the scanner. Ships were jumping into the system from across human space. Mining? Vessels from the Centauri colonies, passenger transports from the inner worlds, cargo haulers from the frontier settlements. Captain Sarah, Kim from the passenger liner New Hope, opened the communication channel. This is Captain Kim. We heard there were some humans who needed help out here. More voices joined the channel. Captains from across human space, all converging on one small research station where a woman was trying to save their species. This is Captain Martinez from the ore hauler Perseverance. We're here to help. Mining vessel Deep Strike reporting for duty. Transport ship Second Chance standing by. Ben watched in amazement as more than 50 human ships entered the system. The Zephyrian warships were now surrounded by an entire fleet of civilian vessels. Lucy clapped her hands. Look, Dad! More good people came to help. The Zephyrian commander's voice had lost its calm precision. This is an illegal assembly of vessels. All ships must disperse immediately, Captain Williams laughed. Commander, there's nothing illegal about humans helping humans. That's just what we do. Elena's voice rang out clearly. Data upload complete. The research is now safely stored in 47 different human colonies. The cure for the Gray Death Plague belongs to humanity now. A cheer went up from the human ships. Ben felt tears in his eyes as he realized what had just happened. Humanity had faced its greatest test and passed with flying colors. But the confrontation wasn't over yet. The Zephyrian commander tried one last threat. Mr. Parker, your species has made a grave error. The Zephyrian Empire will not forget this defiance. Ben stood up, gently setting Lucy on her feet. Commander, let me tell you what you've learned today. You've learned that humans will risk everything to protect each other. You've learned that we can't be controlled through fear or economic pressure. And most importantly, you've learned that when we care about something, we become very, very dangerous. Your emotional responses make you weak and predictable. No, Commander. Our emotional responses make us unpredictable and strong. You spent years studying human economics and trade patterns, but you never understood the most important thing about us, which is... Ben looked down at Lucy, who was watching the conversation with bright, intelligent eyes. We make our most important decisions based on love, not logic. And a species that fights for love will always defeat a species that fights for profit. The Zephyrian ships began to withdraw. As they pulled back, the human fleet moved into protective formation around the research station. Elena's face appeared on the main screen, tears streaming down her cheeks. Ben, I'll be coming home soon. The station commander is arranging transport for all non-essential personnel. How soon? Lucy asked, bouncing on her toes. 3 days, sweetheart. I'll be home in 3 days. Over the following weeks, the cure for the Gray Death Plague was distributed to every human colony. The struggling outer settlements received not just medical supplies, but also teachers, doctors, and engineers from the wealthier core worlds. Human companies began working together instead of competing, sharing resources and knowledge. The Zephyrian Empire, faced with a humanity that could no longer be manipulated or controlled, chose to withdraw from direct interference. They established new trade relationships based on mutual respect rather than exploitation, Other alien species watched with interest as humanity transformed from a collection of competitive factions into a unified civilization that prioritized the welfare of all its members. 6 months after Lucy first walked into Ben's office, the three of them sat together in their new apartment. It was bigger than Ben's old place, with a real kitchen and a garden where Elena could grow the earth flowers she missed. "Mom," Lucy said over dinner, "tell us about the research station again." Elena smiled. "Well, it was very cold and very far away, and I missed you every single day. But knowing that Dad was taking care of you made it possible for me to do important work." "And now all the sick kids are getting better?" Lucy asked. "All of them," Elena confirmed. Ben watched his family and marveled at how much his life had changed. He was still CEO of Stellar Dynamics, but now the company's mission was to help humanity thrive, rather than just to make profits. He worked shorter hours and spent his evenings teaching Lucy about business, while Elena told them stories about distant worlds. "Dad," Lucy said, as Elena tucked her into bed, "do you think other little girls will ask other grown-ups to be there?" Dads then considered the question. "I think children will keep asking adults to be better people. And I think adults will keep learning that caring about each other is the most important thing we can do." "Good," Lucy said sleepily. "Because there are lots of kids who need help and lots of grown-ups who forgot how to help them." As Ben turned off the lights, he realized that Lucy was right. Her simple question about buying a dad had reminded humanity of something they had almost forgotten. When people care about each other, they can accomplish impossible things. In the darkness, Elena took Ben's hand. "Thank you," she whispered, "for taking care of her, for taking care of all of us." "Thank you for trusting me with her," Ben replied. "She changed everything." And in her bed, Lucy smiled in her sleep, dreaming of a galaxy where every child who needed a family could find one, and where grown-ups remembered that love was always more important than money. The little girl who had asked to buy a dad had taught the entire human race the most valuable lesson of all, that family isn't something you buy or earn, but something you choose to create through love and care. And that lesson would echo through the stars for generations to come.